Yeah, favorite channel, it's 72, Sirius XM 72. And then at night, there's an entire Broadway show that gets played at 11 o'clock at night.
He's very excited about it.
What's the best Broadway song to belt in the car?
The latest is really The Greatest Showman and everything related
the biggest,
to that.
greatest showman
Can you guys sing a few bars?
of all time. Go ahead, you start. You do Never Enough, but he does it in the movie.
Never enough.
Never.
Never. Never enough.
Never.
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 Well, I met Luis in 2008. I was working for a political consulting firm, and Luis ran his own company out of that same office. We shared common heritage. My mother's from Puerto Rico. Luis is from Puerto Rico. Anyone who knows Puerto Ricans, an extremely effusive, kind of supportive, wonderful person I found in him. And he was also extremely bright, and he was someone I knew I should sort of stay close to because he was giving me a lot of guidance at the time about my own career and what I wanted to do. And I got to learn about his story, about leaving Puerto Rico, leaving a very secure life to face uncertainties, coming to New York in the late 1970s to do bigger and better things. And that's what I was most interested in. And, he's a guy who leaves an island and within a matter of years is running these big political campaigns. I'm seeing all this. I'm close to the action. Lin-Manuel is doing amazing things. He's writing. In the Heights is happening,
and I'm basically getting free breakfast at his office.
And I just sort of took notes, and I asked Luis if I can follow him with a camera, and he said yes.
And so in the documentary, there's a moment when you're speaking to students in Puerto Rico and protesters rush the stage. Were you guys surprised at all by that reaction?
No, not really. The University of Puerto Rico had been through so much, even before Hurricane Maria, and what we had sort of said was, we're here for an hour. We're here to announce that Hamilton's coming to Puerto Rico, but it's your time. I said at the beginning thing, it's your time. And I spoke for an hour, and about 5 minutes of that were this protest. And so I was like, that is also part of the conversation. That is also part of your time.
In fact, 43 years earlier, I could have been that kid that jumped on stage. So being there, I realized the more things change, the more they're the same. The island, the university, the people have gone through so much that this is part of the narrative, and we were just part of that narrative as well.
And so looking ahead to the 2020 presidential election, do you think that Trump's response to Puerto Rico will have an influence, or do you have a message that you would want to share about that?
I mean, my first instinct when I hear your question is, what response? I think that he's treated Puerto Rico with indifference, if not outright hostility. And then when his ego was bruised by being called on that, he doubled down on the insults and the rhetoric. We've never had an administration more hostile to a U.S. territory, essentially.
It's also reminding people, particularly the large Puerto Rican diaspora and all of our brothers and sisters in the Latinx community, that if one of our communities is treated badly, the fact is that everyone is in the same boat. He started with Mexicans. Mexicans were criminals and rapists as he's coming down his palace at Trump Tower. So nothing has changed. We're just the latest racist chapter in the history of Trump.
And so speaking of the White House in a different era, I've watched the clip of you for the first time performing at the White House a million times, but I was surprised to note in the documentary you said that your dad's connection got you that. So can you elaborate on that?
Well, kind of. Who was it that asked you if I was available to participate in that?
Axelrod, the campaign strategist for Cuomo, for Obama, was the one who said to me, hey, the First Lady is going to start putting together this night at the White House. Do you think that Lin-Manuel can sing something from In the Heights? He had just gotten the In the Heights Tony, and I said, of course.
And I decided to treat it as a workshop for this new little thing I was working on, which even in retrospect, when I look back on it, I think, what was I thinking? It worked out well, though.
So what was it like seeing the reaction to the trailer for In the Heights when that dropped?
Oh, it was the greatest. You know, I have to tell you, Warner Brothers has just done such an extraordinary job, and when they sent that to us, we were just so overwhelmed by what they put together, and we all cried when we watched the trailer for the first time. And so, you know, one of my last acts on Twitter was like, please just send me your reactions to watching it. And that was such a joy, because I feel like I've been sitting on a secret since last summer, and we made this movie and we were in the neighborhood, and to see songs you wrote about a place you love actually work in the space they're about was a dream come true for me, and we kind of can't wait to let the rest of the world in. In the Heights has always been set over July 4th weekend, and in John Chu's version, it's set over an entire summer. So it's about summer, it's a summer movie, but I also think the lesson I really got from John, and he led the way in this, was we're allowed to take up space with our stories. You know, I'm so grateful that he sort of used his post Crazy Rich Asians capital to say, no, we get to take a big swing. And this story, which could very easily have been this indie, tiny musical about this neighborhood, was like, this deserves a big swing, and this deserves to be as big as any of the other big blockbuster movies that are out there.
And it is about superheroes, but are the heroes of every community, of every neighborhood, the normal people who get up every morning and work and make a community great.
That's very good. I'm going to take you on our press tour.
Something that struck me while watching the documentary is your family members all have very similar names. And so I'm wondering, do you guys have any nicknames, or do you guys mix each other
They
up?
all have
We are a
nicknames.
nightmare at the airport.
We are. Oh, God.
And when your father was still alive, we had 4 Luises, 2 Luces. Lin-Manuel's pretty its own thing. But yeah, it's a lot.
Everything sort of happened by
My sister married a
coincidence.
guy named Luis.
You know what I mean? He's like, what are the chances
Yeah.
that a Luz, which is also my wife's name, will marry a Luis?
Yeah.
The only name that we knew for sure was Lin-Manuel, because that made that decision when I was an adolescent, that if I had a boy, his name would be Lin-Manuel.
I know you've been asked this a lot, but when are we getting a Hamilton movie?
You know, hopefully sooner than later. I think it's no secret that we filmed it. We filmed the show with the original cast the week before the beginning cast members began to leave the show. And Tommy's made that into a great movie. And what I'm most excited about is there will be a point at which you all have that friend who brags, I saw it with the original cast. We're stealing that brag from everyone, because you're all going to see it with the original cast. We're just trying to find the right time to do it.